Okay, we're here. I'm on. Let's get on here. Let me just see. Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hey everybody, I'm live. So I'm just gonna start getting set up here like I do every week. It looks like, it does look like I can see everything here. So I'm a little bit, let me just make sure you could see what I'm doing here. So this week I did a lot of stuff online, so I'm a little fried with computer stuff and all that. So I was going to work in the sketchbook, but I just put a piece of paper down instead. I'm going to just work on paper. But I want to do something completely intuitive and in the manner of a sketchbook spread, because my brain is just fried from being on the computer for so many days in a row. So when I'm like this, I sometimes just want to not think and just make something. I just want to make something really intuitive and not really think about what's going to happen. And so I was thinking I might start, I have my collage box on the ground here, which you can't see. So sometimes I just put collage down, and if none of it shows at the end, I don't really care. I mean, we might paint over all of it. So sometimes I just dig some scraps of things out and see what I have going on in here. I don't know. I never know what's in here because I just keep adding to it, and then I have no idea. There's all kinds of stuff. Jelly prints and just, sometimes I scribble just bits of leftover paint. I'd probably prefer to use stuff I hand painted then. Like I have magazine stuff, but I don't really want to use any of that. Say hi if you're here. I check the chat, and then I add, I'll if you have questions as I'm going along here. I don't know. Oh, there's some nice pictures. I'll put those aside for references later, but I don't want to plan today because I can't. My poor little brain is so fried. So actually, sometimes I like to add texture. So I like to have, sometimes I like to have layers just on the page. I do this on my canvases too. So sometimes I just cut pieces, and it gives me, I do this on my cradled panels. I do it on my, on the canvases too. I would just glue these down. And normally, like if I'm putting down a piece of thin collage, I use matte medium most of the time, but this is like watercolor paper, so I probably will use PVA glue, which I know I have. I don't know if I have it here. Oh, I have something. I think I have some kind of glue that I could use here. Let me see. I could use this. This isn't probably my first choice. Oh, here's the PVA glue. I wonder if there's any. This is the better kind. Here, I'll use this. All right, this is the kind I really like. This is the real glue that I like. The PVA glue. I have that other stuff, that tacky glue. That's really a craft glue. I prefer not to really use that on artwork, but this is, I don't know what this is going to turn into. I do these sometimes just for a collage, right? I paint silly things on a piece. Today I'm not going to use any of this. I'm just going to cut a piece of paper out of it because I want dimension on this. And I'm just going to use it for that. I'm not doing anything else with this. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to glue it on. Yeah, we're not even going to have any sort of rhyme or reason today. We're just going to make stuff. I'm going to just glue this stuff on here and stick it down and make it work. I really like to do this. And the only reason I'm doing it with the glue instead of matte medium is because it's heavy paper and not like thin paper. If it was thinner paper, this is 140-pound watercolor paper, so I don't want to fool around. It'll come up otherwise. And all I'm doing here is I'm creating a dimensional layer on my paper. This is going to be interesting because this is textured paper. This is cold press paper. I'm putting it on hot press, which is the smooth kind of paper. I don't care. We're playing here. We're fooling around. We don't care. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Okay. Let me get my paper towels out here. Hi, everybody. Who's here today? Let's say hi. I got to say hi to everyone. Hi, Susan. Hi, Tinkerbell. Let's see who else is here. Anybody else? There's other, the thing is, a lot of people don't want to come on the chat, but I know, when I look later, there's always lots of people. So I'm going to say hi to everybody because I know everybody's here, but they might be shy. It's okay. I get it. That's fine. You can lurk in the background. I'm just going to, now, because I put these down, they want to come up, and that's why I didn't do matte medium. And I'm going to just squish them down with my squeegee. Yeah, so I don't have a plan in the world here. If this was thin paper, I would not be doing all this. If it's coming up, I might have to put more glue on the big one. It's coming up a little, I guess. Oh, there's no glue at all in this corner because I'm doing Mr. Toad's Wild Ride right now. Some people will know what I mean, but that's from a kid's book from when we were little. All right, hold on. Sometimes that's how I prefer to do things. So there'll be so much paint and stuff on this later that it won't even matter that I'm doing all this craziness here. Sometimes it's just fun to do this. Now this, I think, was just leftover paint, but then I kind of like the design. I don't know. I might put some of this on, but this I'm going to use matte medium. I kind of like what's happening with this. Now remember, some of this is just going to get painted over, but it kind of helps my brain flow. Oh, this is the wrong one. I don't need this one. This is the varnish. So I'm going to just blob myself on some matte medium. So a lot of times, as a jump start, I like to do this kind of thing. Just get stuff. I love collage and paper, and I really love paper. So even though I paint on panels and all this other stuff, I really love paper, probably because I did a lot of watercolor in my early work, and I did a lot of pastels, and I just really, I don't know, paper really makes me excited. Now when I start laying on matte medium also helps push stuff down. So the more matte medium that comes onto a piece of paper, the more tooth it gets, the more substantial the paper becomes. So you can work right into it too. So I'm just going to layer some of it on. And then I'm going to draw on top of this. So a lot of it's going to get painted over. If some of it comes through in the you know, in the end result, maybe it will. I'm not sure. I don't know what's happening yet. This is like how I play. So when you're painting, at the very end, if you have leftover paper, leftover paint, you could just make these little pages with just even if you have regular, I think this might be even just be like the lightest weight of inexpensive paper. This might even be like a copy paper weight. I don't even know what it is. That I just smushed leftover paint on. Because we almost always have just a little bit of paint left. Why waste it? And then you could do stuff like this with it. You can make collage with it, or, you know, this is all good stuff. All right, I don't need a ton here. But I'm also using this to smush down my pieces. You could see me doing that. It helps keep, it'll help you smush down your collage, the matte medium. And it dries so fast. It's like every other acrylic thing that you'll ever do. All right. All right. Okay. And I used a fan brush. I mean, I don't ever paint with a fan brush. I don't really, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a fan of the fan. Iconic, how are you? I see you there. It's good to see you. I've seen you before. I know that you come. You come to my live streams. I hope everybody's having a good day. I woke up this morning and I was really bummed out because it was snowing yet again in Connecticut. And I was like, oh no, not more snow. We've been getting so much snow. We don't normally get a lot of snow here, but this winter we got killed, absolutely killed here. And I wasn't very happy with that. I'm not a snow kind of gal. So I was not amused at all. All right, so I'm just gonna play. So let me think. I have to think for a second about what I want to put down on here. I'm definitely gonna paint, but I definitely want to draw some too. I don't know, I might use a little more collage. I want to bring some birds or animals or something in here. I always bring in flowers, and I mean, it's kind of my go-to a lot of times, is because I use a lot of floral elements and different things like that. I'm trying to think of the best way to draw on this. Oh, I guess I can use this. This is a old Stabilo Carb Othello. So it's making a mark even though this is pretty wet, which is good. So I might start out with, maybe I'll just do, I think what I'm going to do is, I'm going to create myself like a little vessel, which will be here. And this is going to be, you can see where it's not wet. Because, yeah. Okay, so that's fine. So I'm going to create a little vessel, but I want to be able to make myself, I don't know, something really colorful. I want to get some, I don't know, I definitely want to get a bird in here. So I'm going to put a bird in front of this pot for sure. Let me just, on the front of it, and it could be a live bird. I haven't decided yet, but No, I want this bird to be thinner than that. And we're gonna, yep. I put birds on a lot of things just because I feel like they're like a symbol of, to me, they're like a symbol of freedom, and they're a symbol of just because birds are so free. I mean, they could just fly, and they're just, I don't know. There's something about birds that really appeals to me as a metaphor for living your life in a free kind of way, because of how they can just fly, and you know, they can take off whenever they feel like it. I don't know, they're really interesting to me. I live where there's a lot of birds, so I don't know, I love them. So here I'm gonna do that. I put my big birdie in front of this pot. So a lot of times my things are so like, the things that I draw, you know, they maybe wouldn't happen in nature, but I don't worry about that too much. I'm gonna make some foliage coming out of here. I have no plan for colors right now. And I don't know if any of this collage is gonna, you know, remain. I have no clue yet on any of that stuff. But yeah, let me think about, I definitely want some kind of really big, kind of interesting shapes for some kind of flowers. And I don't care if they go off the page. That's the other thing. I want to be able to use the space on this to create something interesting. So I think I want my flowers to be really big. So there's going to be one there, and then maybe another one on this side. That's also large. Okay, so 2 big, large flower shapes, but then we need more foliage. And we need stuff that's going to drape over the front, I think, a little bit. Okay. Yeah. I like that. And then we have to have stuff. I want other things. I want some flowers here. Maybe things we don't see the stems for coming off. Yeah. Once you start going, I think a lot of times things just happen. Things germinate. And everything starts to come together. All right, let's think about, what else I want to put on here. All right. Thinking. Okay. Down here, maybe. I just want to get in some interesting other shapes. These are just things I'm throwing down right now and thinking about. I like a variety. I like a variety of shapes and colors we can bring in. Let's see. The more variety you can kind of bring in, the more interesting things kind of stay, I think. All right. And I'm kind of going to treat this like almost like a sketchbook kind of spread, even though it's going to be on a piece of paper. So I'm not putting any pressure on myself right now at all. I'm just kind of playing with ideas, and because I'm going to paint this in acrylic, I can make as many mistakes as I feel like making with this pencil, and then I'm going to just paint. I'm thinking about all kinds of ideas I want to do and ways to fill up this space. Okay, so okay, let's see. All right, so now I'm going to squish colors out and figure it out. Let's figure out what we're doing here. All right, these are my baby wipes. Very important. Baby wipes are always important. Let me think about my color palette here. Now, I don't want to go too crazy because then you get in trouble here. I have a couple of ideas, but today I'm not going to go nuts with color. It would be fun to, but I'm going to try to rein myself in. All right, always, always need white because we always, always have to have tints. Tints are my thing. I love to create tints on my paintings. Now, I know I want some kind of, let's see, I want to do magenta for sure. So I need a cool red, and I'm going to go grab it because I know exactly where that is. Here it is, I think, if this is the right one. Yep, primary magenta. That's always a good one. I also like the quinacridone magenta. That's always a good one. That's also a good one. Gonna do, let's see. I want to do a cool blue, probably like, let's see. I want to do manganese maybe because manganese is going to give me, or I could do cerulean, I suppose. I just have to do one that's going to give me those nice, cool greens. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Something, I want to do that. I want to, trying to find it. This is what happens when you clean up. Don't clean, people. I put away everything the other day, and now I can't find the color I want. All right, let's see. I'll find it. If I don't, I'm just going to have to mix it, which is okay, too. That's all right. I don't have to do that, but I will if I have to. Here, I'm going to just use this. I'm just going to give myself some phthalo blue, which is the blue I need to create the green I want, and I'm going to mix it myself. So phthalo blue is the blue I need to create the green I want. So let me just do that. Then I'm going to grab, what is this? A nice yellow. This is cadmium lemon, which will be really pretty. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're gonna be good now. All right, let's see. All right. All right. So now I think I can paint a little bit anyway. Okay. Okay. Now, I am going to really work on getting this I think I want to work on my bird first. Okay. So I'm going to work on my bird. And because the bird, I want to make a brown for the bird, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the red up with a little bit of the blue. I'm going to add just a little bit of this yellow into it. And that's going to give me the a brown, okay? And it gives me a beautiful brown immediately. Okay, and then I'm just going to add just a little bit more of the blue into it. Because I want this birdie to have like kind of a lively color. So this is a really rich, beautiful brown. And then I might enliven this bird with a kind of a reddish breast. Okay, so first I'm going to just block the bird out so that you guys can see it better. I'm also creating a super dark value here, which is something I want to do. Okay. All right. So this is going to be, okay, now. All right. We're just going to get our bird blocked in. All right. Now this. I'm going to make a little bit of a pale orangey brown. Come in and do this. Yeah. I like to create like some tints with these colors. And this is just a first layer. And I always talk about working in layers because you have to understand that those first layers that go down are not the final layers. We're just kind of building, they're like building blocks. All right, so this is the birdie's wing. I'm adding a lot of matte medium into these colors. Now, when I'm using something like the Stabilo Carbothello, I was able to, now the thing about a Stabilo, anything, is that even when the paper's wet or whatever, you're able to draw right on top, okay, with a Stabilo. And I'm using a really fat brush here, by the way. Just blocking stuff in. And I'm creating all these dark tones and things while I'm working. But the Stabilo brand, all their stuff is designed to work and draw on anything. So even if you're, you know, just blocking some stuff in and getting marks down and all that stuff, so even if your paper's wet or your canvas is wet, you should be able to draw anyway. That's what's so nice about them. Because I had wet glue and wet everything on here. I'm going to put a little bit of a dark value back here. Now this is just the first layer, so I don't I'm going to leave this and then come back and do a little bit more. Okay. Because that's dark right now. Let's see. I'm not sure really what color I'm going to make this pot, but I might make some pale blue mix in. I mixed in some white and some of the matte medium here. I already have some leaf shapes there. I'm just going to go around my edges where the pot shape is. I'm not going to cover up all that collage yet, but I think I might. We'll have to see. I'm not sure if I like it yet, you know. Okay. But I think if I go back in and I do some of it, it'll make the bird look better. And again, this is a layer. You know, you could always cover this stuff up. That's a big flower petal right there. And that's going to be a leaf. All right. Okay. I have the edges of this taped down to the table. Or down to my work surface, I should say. I'm using a really fat brush here, so I have very little control over what's going on here, which is fine. Which is kind of sometimes when I'm trying to paint loose, I get a fatter end and I try to hold it back farther. Because you know, sometimes when I'm trying to play or really, you know, experiment, I don't want to be real tight, you know. I'm trying to just let this kind of evolve on its own and see what happens, you know. Because sometimes ideas can germinate this way and you don't really have to overthink things too much. And right now I'm just kind of looking at the shapes I put down. Now I don't want to do anything more on top because I have a whole bunch of flower ideas that I'm thinking about for up there. All right, I think I need a warmer yellow. What is this? Oh, that's orange. All right, we don't want that. That's not good. That's too warm. Here we go. This is cadmium yellow medium. We're going to put that next to this one so you guys can see it. I don't know if you can actually see it. I think you can, but like this is a very cool yellow. This is a very warm yellow. Sometimes I need both. Now, I work with a limited color palette on here and show you how to do that all the time. Sometimes I want both of them because I need a certain color or I want to create a certain color. So today, I want to make some of these really pretty magenta colors, but I also want to make kind of a coral color later. And I'm going to need that, color later, this. To make more of that coral, I'm going to need the warm yellow. And I might need it to make the blue, the green. Sometimes when you're making certain color greens, you need either the warm or the cool yellow. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna mix some very light pink here. So I'm putting a lot of white into this. And normally I would do this with a palette knife, but when I'm doing this kind of painting, sometimes I forget. All right, I'm gonna get a different brush because I want a smaller one for the flowers. Okay. All right. And I'm adding the matte medium in because the matte medium gives you flow, okay? Ooh, I want more white. That's too dark. Okay, and now I'm mixing it right on the paper because I decided it was really too dark. Okay. This is better. Okay. All right, so I'm really glomming the paint on here and just letting it happen. And this is okay because this is experimental, and sometimes you just have to let yourself get in there like a child and play with the paint and not worry about what's happening. Don't be afraid because nothing is wrong. Especially when you're painting with acrylic. I do this all the time. It's not even an issue because when you're painting with acrylic paint, you can, you don't like this, and in a few minutes you can go right over it. Don't even worry about what's happening. I have so much on here that I don't even have to make a second layer with this. I mean, I'm going to just because I'm going to want to play with the colors and stuff, but other than that, I don't have to. I want some fun stuff to happen with the brush strokes and things, so I'm kind of doing that. I definitely wanted to do something like this. I want to get right in here and put some dark marks in there. Okay. I'm going to move on to my next flower, but my next one I want to be maybe kind of more, let's see what happens if I do one with like, I'm going to make this one more of a, it's an unusual color, but I'm not worried here. So I mix kind of a dark pinky orange by using this magenta with a little bit of the warm yellow. And that's what color the flower next door is going to be. And these two colors next to each other are going to really look great. These two colors. And the orange is really going to vibrate next to that blue. Okay. And now I didn't think about it before I did it, but that is absolutely a complementary color pop. So sometimes I just grab the colors without thinking about it and it happens. Other times it's a very conscious decision. This time I just kind of grabbed it and it happened. But blue and orange are complementary colors. So when you put them next to each other, you get a little bit of complementary color magic happening. And that's always a good thing. We want to encourage that. And now we'll see what happens. Like some of this I might allow to come through here, okay? I don't have to, but I might allow some of it to come through or pop through. Now, I'm going to go with that magenta in the middle here to pop that out, and I may mix a little bit more of the yellow magenta in here, because to offset this one, because that would look really flat if we just left it one color. So I'm going to come back into this one as well. With some of those tones. All right, now, all right, so. Okay. All right. I start picking my way around once once I start putting things in place. All right. All right, so now I'm going to look at some greens. I want to mix up some nice greens now. So I'm going to get in here with my, with my palette knife. I have the phthalo green, and I'm going to mix, first I'm going to mix something up with the warm yellow, and I'm going to get a really nice green with this. And see what that does. It's going to be nice. That one's a little too yellow. I want a little bit more of a cool green, okay? So mix that up nice. Once I have something I like, I'm going to put a little medium into it. The medium really does help it flow better. So I always like to add a little bit. And I want to add a little white. Just to... All right. Oh, I like that one. Okay, that's a nice one. All right, I'm going to start with that. Get my paper towel, wipe that nonsense off. Sometimes when I really start painting, I am such a goofball about how I mix. Okay, but I think now I'm going to add more medium into it with my brush. All right. And I do make a giant mess. You could laugh all you want. Okay, so I am, now that cool blue is really going to look nice next to the orange, okay? Because it has a lot of blue in it. And so when we put the cooler blue next to the orange, it's going to be really nice. Because it has more blue, and blue and orange are complementary. as opposed to like a yellow green. Okay, so it's gonna like this blue better. I like to I like to assign emotions to colors. If you haven't noticed, I like to give colors a little personality. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep moving along here. I'm gonna get this one. I haven't addressed the top of this vase yet, but I will. Okay. Sometimes I leave things a little bit. I leave things alone a little bit until I figure out what I want to do. Now I am kind of varying things a little bit as I go out because you don't want to have everything the same color, okay? Things will get really boring if there's no variation. So I added a little bit more yellow. This is a little bit of a warmer green over here because it has more yellow in it. That's how you can tell. If it's a little more blue, cooler. A little bit more yellow, warmer. Okay. Okay. I am going to do something I do sometimes, which is I'm going to spritz my whole palette because things are drying faster than I want them to. And that's okay. Now, I don't like to add a lot of water to my acrylic paint because it degrades it, but you can add a little bit of water. You know, you have to just be careful. It really is not designed to be diluted with water. It's designed to clean up with water. So really that's why I use the mediums and not so much the water. When I dilute, I use medium. I use the mediums designed for the paint. Okay. So if you haven't used medium with your acrylic paint, it's a complete game changer. So these kind of just come together a little at a time. I kind of like what's happening so far with what's going on. I like my little bird. I'm gonna do more with the bird though, because he doesn't have enough personality yet. Who's there? Hi, what is it? Club Roblo? Hi. Am I an artist? I am. That's all I do is this. I'm just painting away. Yeah, I painted this myself. Yes, I'm an artist. This is what I do. I know. It keeps me out of trouble. This keeps me out of trouble. This way I don't get myself into any kind of major trouble. Oh my goodness. That's how I stay out of trouble. I could be out on the streets doing something bad. Here I am in my little studio, just painting away. So, for the past week, I've been First of all, for the past month or two, I've been closing my teaching studio, which I've had for like 5 years, that I had with my friend. And then now I'm only going to teach a little bit outside of here, which is, you know, YouTube. And so I've been working really hard on my online stuff and just going through all my, you know, my least favorite part of all my art business is doing like the web stuff, and I can do all of it, but it's really daunting for me. So that's what I've been doing for days and days now. So I was like, oh, I can't do anything too structured today. I really need to come out and just have a fun, kind of relaxing, no plan, kind of intuitive painting session. That's what I felt like doing today. And I think these are really important because you can generate ideas this way, and also just showing up and just playing is really important. Because you can develop ideas this way for more finished paintings. I mean, even if you finish something like this and a quarter of it works for another painting, you've really accomplished something. As far as I'm concerned, if the whole thing's a throwaway, you just cut it up and put it in the collage box, and you could take it out the next time and make it into something else. Because you're practicing composition and color mixing. And I really feel like once I start putting the collage down and making those different levels, it really feels like a door opens and I can step inside another place, and all of a sudden the ideas just start flowing, and I can just it doesn't matter if I came out without a plan, you know, and then I just start painting. It's just like kind of like a little, like a door opener for me. All right, so now I know you can tell by this blob of red that was supposed to be something like a Queen Anne's lace. I know you could tell that by looking at it. So I'm being facetious, as you can tell, because no one could tell that by looking at it. So right now I'm making this really light, creamy tint, because nothing in nature is white, is like pure, you know, snowy white. So right now I'm just going to be kind of making this really light color that's not quite white, okay? And I'm going to be painting here. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to do, it won't make sense until the background goes completely in. So your negative space is really important a lot of times in your painting. The negative space is as important as the positive space. So the space around your objects becomes really important in the final product and how you address that. So sometimes I like to make really interesting negative and positive space, because I think it adds a lot. I like really organic shapes. So when I'm making my shapes, I'm kind of aware of those kinds of lines when I'm creating my line work. Okay. Now I had intended these flowers to be white. Now the other thing about Stabilo, remember when I was talking about the Stabilo before? All right, well, the other thing about Stabilo is that it's usually water soluble. So that's what's happening here. So the other day when I did my weekly video, and I wasn't gonna start over, but I had grabbed the canvas and I got so excited that I drew the whole image on it with a water-soluble pencil. That's like so me. That's just like so something I would do. So I got it, I had the whole drawing on it. And then it turned, of course, turned the whole first layer into mud because, you know, the drawing was water soluble. So as soon as I started painting, it was all, that's just so classic for me. That's just something I would do. I've done that 100 times. I can't even tell you how many times I've made that same mistake. It's very silly. That's just how I do stuff sometimes. But sometimes I leave my mistakes in my videos because I want to show you that I make mistakes all the time. And I just think it's funny. I just keep going. I just roll along. And you can't let anything like that bother you. You just have to keep going and do your thing. I just think all those little things you can fix, and it's not a big issue. Now I'm redrawing this flower because I don't like where I put it, and it's not going to matter. Okay. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to make more of this color blue with a little bit of the white. Come back in. Some. Now I know where these leaves are, so I want to get back in to here and come across. Yeah, I decided not to leave that on there. But I do like it in some of the other places. I may leave a little bit of that yellow paper showing. Mind it over here. I think I might leave it poking out in certain places. It could be interesting, I think. Yeah. Now this. Okay. Okay. How long have I been painting? I started at 1. I started at 1 o'clock. But yeah, we're all, you know, I'm cruising along here, but I think, well, I know actually that we're getting close now, because I'm about to think about the background now, and that'll be when I put the background in. I have some ideas for the background, so we're getting close. And I have some other ideas that I want to bring in. And one of those ideas that I want to bring in is that I want to add one more red. I want to add in the warm red here, which is the cadmium red, medium. I only need a little, so I'm going to put it over here. Let's just do that. And I'm going to add just a little medium, because I want it to be pretty intense. A little bit of medium. Mix it up pretty good. Because sometimes I like to add some foliage that's an unexpected color. So I'm going to put some red foliage in to my background here. Okay. And I love the way that red stabilo looked in the background, and I'm going to add that in. And I'm just going to add a little bit more of it. I'm just going to do, once I put the background in, it won't be as obvious that I'm outlining these flowers. You probably forgot that I put in these little white flowers, but you can't really see them until I go ahead and really start layering that background in. But I kind of like this abstracted background that I laid down in the beginning. So I probably will leave the background that's there. Okay, I need my paper towels. Okay. And then here, I just have to do this because here, I messed up the shape of the vase. That's all right. It's all right. It happens. That's what happens sometimes. Okay. Now I'm going to go back in here with a little bit more of this red foliage. All right, this is the cadmium red. Now the cadmium red is way warmer than the magenta. Magenta, scarlet, alizarin, those are all cool reds. This is a warmer red that I'm using right now. Okay. Sometimes we can really start to connect the pieces that don't seem as connected if we repeat elements across a painting. So I'm going to bring, I think, a little bit of this across. I want to have a little bit of this red vine coming into this side of the painting as well. Okay. It doesn't have to play as big a role on this side, but it kind of makes everything more cohesive. Okay. All right, now I just have to think for a sec. Now, let me think for a sec. I want to put some of that warm red. I just dunked it right in there. I just put it right into my pink, right into the other pink. I'm going to live dangerously. Put a little bit of white into it. Maybe more. Nope, I liked it a little darker. And now I am going to go in and be crazy with it, because what I want to do is I want my bird to have kind of a little bit of a red breast. Yeah, I want him to have a red breast. Okay. Yep. Okay. There's something I really love about the layered paper. And I don't know what it is, but I just really love how the paper looks when it's all layered and chunky. It looks really organic. I think that that's what it is. I'm not sure. Trying to think about my background color. Trying to really think what I should do. But it could be, so many things could happen here. I'm just trying to think what I should do. I could do so many different things that, well, you know what I could do, which would be interesting, was I could do some color blocking, which would be, I always like to do color blocks on things that are a little bit abstract, which it's interesting because it kind of softens it a little bit, but also, and also I like, I don't know, it's kind of like a more, I'm trying to look for the colors I'm thinking about putting in. Hold on one second. Because I had no plan, I didn't have my paint out ahead of time. But let me just see. Because I'm thinking, like, I just put out a little buff titanium, which is, titanium white, but it's a little bit more creamy, like a skin tone. And I'm thinking we could also use some really pale green, which would be really pretty. But I want to do like kind of a color block. Now, you very rarely see me use the rainbow, but I do it. I do it sometimes, especially if I'm playing, because I just, Sometimes I just want to have fun with my colors. I'm doing it thoughtfully and intentionally, though. I'm really thinking about the colors. I'm not just slapping them on. Um, Randomly, I'm very intentionally adding ones that I know will work. Okay, so that takes a little bit of time. And so I'm thinking before I just, I'm not just randomly flopping down colors here. I am thinking about how I do it. Okay. Okay. Okay, right here, I think I'm going to add some of this beige. And it's more of a yellowy beige. It's not really straight up beige. Because I added I added yellow ochre to it, which is a very creamy earth tone. Okay. I'm gonna. A lot of times when I'm doing this kind of thing, I really look at how I drew this stuff. And if I need to fix anything, I can do it here with the paint. This is a very opaque color because it's got a very opaque color in it, Titan Buff, which is titanium buff. So titanium anything is very opaque. So if I want to make this color, if I want to change anything on this, I can change it with this color because it's very opaque. Okay. I can redraw with this. I can go right over any of these red lines I don't want to see anymore. Okay. Very, very, very opaque color I just made. And then since I have the collage there, I kind of want to cut that off too, like where my collage is. So I have to think about where that line is. It's right there. But it's a really pretty color, and it's in keeping with the collage I put down, because that collage has those same tones in it, which is kind of why I chose it. But I think we'll sneak in something else that's very bright, I'm thinking. Now there's my beautiful flower shape. I got to be careful over there. Now I'm going to probably touch up some of the leaves because I'm doing a paint around. And I don't mind doing the paint around. I very often do this. This is just how I work. And then I'll go back in and I'll fix a little bit of the greenery. I love, and I'm not even going to lie, love the way the red Stabilo pencil is popping out a little bit around the green. And I'm not going to even cover it all up because I love how it's giving me like a little bit of a complementary pop. Now, sometimes that's why I do those underpaintings the way I do them. Okay. That's why I do that. So that a little pieces of that underpainting come through, and that's kind of what it's doing here. It's giving me that same look. Those are little things that happen sometimes, and I just love that kind of look. I'm going to make a color block right there, and I'm going to stop that color, and I'm going to put something else on top. But this corner is going to be this color. I really like it. That's working there really well with the cool blue. I think you're going to be able to read these flowers better. I may go around this part of these flowers with this color just because you can read them better. Okay. All right. That's a very creamy color. All right, so now I'm going to come back into my dark blue-green. I'm just going to touch up a couple things here. Right there. Boom, boom. It's okay. You could always come back. If you lose anything, it's not a big deal. You just paint over it. This happens a lot. Acrylics are supposed to be done in layers. I never think that first layer is the last of it. I always do at least two. There's usually a touch up. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to want that someplace else. But first, I think I want to do some kind of a really pale green. Oh, like that. This time I'm using the, this time I'm going to use the really light cadmium yellow light, which is that cooler color. Okay, cooler yellow. So it's going to be a whole different thing. And I'm going to put that up on top, I think. I'm going to put it back here. Okay. Okay. All right. All right, so because I'm putting it next to the pink, we have that really exciting kind of complementary green, red pop of color, okay, in the background. And that's and when we're using the neutral tone down here, it gives our eye a place to rest because we have a lot of really vibrant colors here. So by toning some of the areas down with the whites, like we have a lot of white here, we have some softer neutral tones. The whole thing isn't screaming at us. So we have little places for our eye to rest with those softer neutrals, but then we have a lot of complementary pops, putting the green again against the reds and the, you know, there was some mark making along the side of the flower. And then I'm going to come in here, go around all this foliage, the red foliage with that green. That's going to all stand right out. These are complementary singing colors that we're using here to create a dynamic color scheme. Okay, so this, all this here in the background here is that original collage we put down. Okay. Now, what I want to do on this side, I think, is we're going to flip the color block a little bit. I'm going to bring this over, I think, to here, because I still want a little bit of that next to this pink flower. But then I'm going to move some of this down here around the edge of this. Now this is just some of the way I do some of my contemporary paintings, is I create some of these color blocks because I find them interesting. It's just a way to break up the background. And we don't have to always be realistic in our paintings. We can have fun with them. We can experiment with colors. I don't mind seeing a little bit of this original drawing coming through. This is like this is just a fun, intuitive painting. So we're just gonna have fun with it, you know. And you know, these things can teach us a lot about composition and how to put together a painting. You know, when I get painting, I miss area. Look, I missed a whole area over here with that. Okay, so up here now, I think I'm gonna go off the rails here and do something really fun. And if it works, it works. I'm just gonna go for it. What I think I'm gonna do is I'm not even gonna mix this paint with anything. And I very rarely will you see me do something like this, is I'm just gonna use this color straight out of the tube. I always mix my colors. You will rarely see me take a color from the tube and use it. It just doesn't very often happen for me. But that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to use this cadmium yellow light just as it is and stick it here because I think it's going to work. I don't know if it will, but I think it's going to. So I was like, you know what? That color's going to look good right there. It's going to work really well because it's now I'm using it as an analogous color because it's working so well with that green that's right under it. Now, analogous colors are color neighbors. They're the colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, and it is so close to the color under it. And we have it in, you know, the collage papers have that color. It's mixed into all the other colors that we created in this painting. So this color is already all over this painting. So I knew that by putting it here, it was going to work. But it's a little bit brighter in its full chroma. So it's really picking this painting up a little bit. You're getting a quick, like loud shout of color here in the corner. And you can really see like all these little places, all the little places of negative space come to life when you start filling them in. All those little places really, all the shapes come to life when you start painting them in, is what I think I want to say. So what I think I want to do is I really want to look again at the pot because I think the pot needs a little bit of work because I don't feel like it's as bright as I want it to be. It maybe needs a little something something. So I'm going to remix this blue a little bit. I think I need more. It needs more white. It needs to come up in value a little bit. I need more white. And it got a little muddy is what I want to say. So I'm going to do a whole nother layer on it. And then I maybe will be done with it. Okay. And it gives me an opportunity to redraw the bird's beak and fix a few things here. Okay. Yeah, it got a little bit muddy. That's what was happening here. And that's why I want to fix it. There we are. Oh, now it's settling down. There we are. And I'm going to get a little smaller brush and get into all these little bits, into the little places. How's everybody doing? Hey! How's everybody doing? Oh, thank you. Thanks, Reagan. Hi. Oh, thanks, Levinson. Oh my goodness, Victoria. I've been painting since I could hold a crayon, Victoria. So I'm one of those people that started painting when they were a little kid and never stopped, which is really crazy. You know how when you start painting when you're a little kid? I started painting when I was a little kid and I never stopped painting. So most people stop painting, and then it wasn't until I was older, and I was just saying this to somebody, that I realized that most people stop. And then I never did. So I have another friend who's like exactly the same as me. Like she also never stopped painting. And so and then I realized that other people like put art aside and have like sensible lives and real careers. And I just decided to keep painting instead. So that didn't work out too good when I was younger. Now it works out okay, but you know, there's a long hard road when you're younger to figure that part out. But yeah, I guess most people, which I realized when I was like when I was teaching, I figured out that, hey, normal people kind of don't really do that. They just kind of, you know, get a real job and then go back to painting when they're older. But no, I just slogged along the whole time painting. You know, what are you gonna do? That's what an artist does. I didn't realize there was an alternative. I never knew. Nobody told me. I didn't get the memo on the painting since I was, I don't know, how old are you when they give you the crayons? 4, 3, 2? I don't know. A long time ago. Painting my whole life. We had a big area where we could make a giant mess in our house. So my mother was always very good about that, you know. We had like a little area where we could make a big creative mess, always. It was in the basement. So we had paint and glitter even, and all kinds of stuff to use. And that's a good thing, you know. Kids need to be able to make a creative mess. Look what I just did. I just made a big mess on my bird. Now, that's the kind of thing that I don't freak out about. I just blobbed my bird. Oh well, it's okay. It's an opportunity to fix the bird in a different way. That's okay. Maybe he needed a blue blob on his back. Never let stuff like that freak you out. Okay, so now, what are we gonna do about that? We'll wash the brush. Go like this. You gotta wipe some of it up. And not freak out. All right, let's make some more of that color. Now, that's why I don't freak out, because we know we have all the colors we need to make the bird color. Red, blue, and yellow. Let's get a little of that yellow, though. Makes a beautiful brown, right? If it's not brown enough, we're going to add a little bit more blue and a little bit more red. That's just what we do. We just mix up some more brown. And that's why learning how to mix those colors from scratch is so valuable. And that's why I do the color mixing tutorials all the time. This week's video is all about the color mixing. So now it's not a big deal. You just go back in and you fix the bird. It's not a big deal. All right. If you want it darker, you just, you go in with the darker value, which is what I just did. That's right. Let's get that stuff in there. Oh, I like them better like that. See, there's always a reason stuff happens, I think. Sometimes you want to add some nice dark values. Yeah, you want to have a lot of different values, right, in your paintings. You want to make his beak nice and dark. Perfect. Okay. I think this bird might be done. I always like to add a little mark making. I mean, the mark making adds a lot to it, I think. And then I look at it and I'm like, oh, I didn't do the mark making. What did I do? I have to. The mark making is important just because it kind of adds more personality. So here, let me just, this bird needs a little personality. Okay. I don't know. I mean, okay, I think I was going to do one thing on that little plant because I really wanted to, let me think about how I wanted to do this because, oh, you know what I want to do? I don't want to do that. I want to do this instead. I want to do this. I want to make a very light glaze of the pink just to do some mark making on the top of this plant. Okay. 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 Well, I think I'm going to leave this one here for now. That was fun. I feel 100% better now. I think art is therapy, guys. I really do. I think of it as therapy. I feel so much better after I paint. I always do. I feel like I had a therapy session, only I didn't have to pay for it. And I didn't have to take any medication. I love to take the tape off. It's my favorite part. Here it comes. Here comes the tape. Yay. There it is. I don't know. That came out good for no plan. I don't know. And I love all the pieces of paper. I'm going to have to put something on it after it's dry to weight it down. But I really like that one. I thought it came out cute. Cute for no plan. All right, everybody. I'm going to do my thing that I do every week. I'm going to turn it around and say hi. Where am I? Here I am with my hat. I'll be wearing this hat, guys, till, till June probably. It's so cold here. It's terrible. Not really, but it feels like it anyway, because it's been so cold here. So I will see you all during the week with my video on Thursday, and I will be back with a live stream on Sunday. I may be trying to sneak in a second one during the week. Those will be shorter and something fun. And I think I'm going to start that up within the next week or so. I will let you know. Okay. So thank you, and I will see you all soon.